absolutely terrifying and absolutely mythical. Who is Sharaputin Bullet Magomedov? This Dagestani striker is not your traditional fighter from the region. Magomedov is perhaps one of the most frightening strikers coming into the UFC middleweight division. The one-eyed menace is a known problem both inside and outside the cage. Magomedov's distinct feature is his eye, which he obviously lost due to combat and is what forced him to take a couple years off his career. Despite it being completely useless, medics have cleared him to fight, as the worst has already happened. Shara Bullet's story is truly inspiring, and we all know why. Michael Bisping became a global phenomenon once we discovered that he became a champion with one sole eye. Although being from Dagestan and having some Sambo background, Shara has an 18-2 K1 boxing background. The Bullet style is perfectly balanced. He is aggressive, but his moves are perfectly calculated and measured. Magomedov has a professional MMA record of 17-0, with the scorecards only seen once. He blends his training in Moscow and in Thailand, where he's trained with multiple UFC athletes in the past. Magomedov fights at both welterweight and middleweight, however has chosen the latter as his division for him to showcase his skills in the UFC. Now, we've seen gangsters from Dagestan before, and you know exactly who I'm talking about. Before Shara, Chimaev was the last man to take the UFC by storm and to show that he has true potential to win the belt in multiple divisions. Chimaev's gangster energy is one that is appreciated by many, and justifiably so. It makes for super entertaining fights. Sharaputin is also an avid wrestler, though he may not display it. This could be problematic for wrestlers that attempt to ease the striking pressure with their own grappling. The hype behind his name is already growing, but let's talk about some of the antics outside the cage. One of the first incidents occurred in a Dagestan mall where he assaulted a man for kissing his girlfriend, something considered extremely offensive in the region. The brawl commenced inside the mall where Shara attacked the man as soon as they left the escalator. The action would continue for a while as Shara poured on. Magomedov was then pulled off by some men, hindering the action from getting arguably worse. Unfortunately, it wouldn't be the last time Shara would be involved in a decent amount of controversy. This time, the Bullet would find himself involved in controversy in a jiu-jitsu tournament, where he would conduct himself in anti-sportsmanlike behavior. Bullet would tap to a leg lock and, out of frustration, decided to attack his opponent. Fortunately, it did not escalate further than that. In later statements, Shara would apologize for such events, however claimed that the shopping mall event was not clearly interpreted by the video. Ultimately, Shara stated that the man he was talking to was intimidating him posterior to the first punch, leading Shara to take the first punch before the other man did. Before we continue, make sure to check out our sponsors, MMA Cookie Cult and Octagon Kings MMA, for the best MMA bets out there. Shoot them a DM and say Martial Insight sent you. If Joe Rogan is talking about you, you better believe that you have achieved some level of recognition.
Sharaputin Magomedov. And he's look at his right eye. It didn't used to be like that. He lost it in a fight.
He's a zombie eye.
So it's dead. It's completely dead eye. So if you go and watch his fights, like he's
a savage.
Really good striker.
Michael Bisping, the one-eyed man himself, also stated that in order to fight in most commissions, you need to have 20/20 vision.
Do you need to have two eyes to compete in MMA? Because didn't they just sign that Russian that has one eye?
Yeah, it drives me crazy because the stress I had, well, I don't know where he's going to fight because the athletic commissions, you have to have 2200 vision.
Bisping went into heavy detail on how he'd memorized the tests.
But what you need to know is the top letter and then the two underneath it, right? If you can read those three letters, you get past. Now, I could not read them at all, but I can memorize three fucking letters. Do you know what I mean?
Everyone knows about Shara's condition, however, which begs the question, how will he get past the commission? One of the best possible scenarios is that he will only be fighting in locations where he is allowed to fight with this condition. Fight Island Abu Dhabi is what many are pointing to as an ideal scenario. UFC 294 in Abu Dhabi is an ideal setting for Bullet's UFC debut, considering that it poses a friendly demographic for Dagestani fighters. Only a year ago, lightweight champ Islam Makhachev became champion. There is undeniably a place for Magomedov in that undercard come October. The Bullet's situation is quite different from most Dagestani fighters. As covered, he is much more comfortable on the feet than wrestling. Surprisingly enough, some experts have compared him to interim featherweight champ Yair Rodriguez. Shara, like Rodriguez, is exemplary in keeping his range and using kicks to the best of his ability. And of course, like Rodriguez, Shara does not miss opportunities if his opponent is visibly hurt.
Rodriguez going in for the finish. That's the second time he's landed that foot moving. Rodriguez lands. There you go. That is it.
At 29 years of age, Sharaputin Magomedov has only seen the scorecards once in his life, and he's gotten 10 knockouts to that shiny record. Moreover, Magomedov's activity is applaudable, having fought 7 times in the last 2 years, including twice in December 2022, roughly 8 days apart, before he decided to sign with the UFC. All this begs the question, who will Sharaputin Magomedov face in his UFC debut? Most likely in Abu Dhabi. When asked about who he'd like to face, the Bullet bravely said he'd like to fight Paulo Costa in his debut. Paulo Costa would not be an easy matchup for Shara, considering his years of experience. However, it wouldn't be too crazy to see it happen.
But Johnny's still firing back. But look at Costa, the young guy, not just headhunting here. Going to the
That's it.
Another name Shara mentioned was yet another former title challenger in Marvin Vettori. Vettori has been in there with everyone and wouldn't be an easy fight either. However, the rumor is that the UFC already has a plan for the Bullet. That name is none other than Derek Brunson. Brunson has been at the top of the middleweight division for years and at this point has fought the who's who of the weight class. Despite his glory and resilience in the past, it may seem Brunson is at the end of his career. Brunson is a personality on his own. His social media presence is outstanding, which could bring great light for the young promise in Sharaputin Magomedov. The one-eyed killer will eat what is in front of him, and this could be a mismatch for him. Shara's relentless pressure, aggressiveness, and will to kill inside that cage will be extremely helpful for his transition into the UFC. As always, please do drop us a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, turn on your post notifications.